I wanted to raise was about the situation with Domino's and the investigation that I understanding that you were doing, and in particular what was uncovered by the Fairfax investigation showing widespread underpayment of wages, deliberate underpayment of penalties, illegal sale of sponsorships and migrants. Anyway, so first of all, tell me, so where's the current situation with Domino's?
Senator, we have received a number of requests for assistance from people working at Domino's. We are also aware of the allegations contained in various newspaper reports. We have an ongoing investigation where we have been conducting visits to stores, carrying out audits. It is an ongoing investigation. I think we've still got audits in the field, and we're still analysing the outcome of what we found. And so I'm not able to comment on it much further, although Mr Campbell might be able to elaborate a little bit on what I've said.
Yeah, certainly, Senator. We've been running a rolling series of store visits and inspections since December last year, and that's in addition to work that we've been doing with Domino's in the past. Those investigations, as Ms James has pointed out, are ongoing, but we expect to do more as well. As these issues become more prominent, they're certainly of concern to us, so the agency will be taking measures to identify and address them. Is
Domino's cooperating?
Domino's is assisting us with our inquiries.
Have there been things you have requested of Domino's that they haven't cooperated with?
I don't want to disclose too much information about how we're engaging with Domino's, other than to say that they remain persons of interest, and we have active investigations involving a number of their operations.
Have you requested that Domino's hand over the names of franchisees that have underpaid workers?
As I said, I'm not going to disclose details of the investigation.
Have you requested that of them?
Those types of details are certainly a feature of our inquiries of them.
But can you answer my question, or are you claiming?
No, I'm not going to answer your question. I'm trying to assist you by saying that we'll do a detailed and thorough investigation.
Yeah, but my question was specific as to whether you've requested the names of the franchisees.
We've requested a large amount of documentation from Domino's to assist us.
Have you requested the names of the franchisees that have underpaid workers?
Yeah, well,
I think Mr Campbell said he's not going to answer that. If you do want to insist, I'll ask him to make a claim of public interest immunity.
As to your ability to...
No.
Yeah.
He's not trying to obfuscate. Perhaps, Chair, it might be better than go down the public interest immunity claim path, which I'm happy to support if required. Perhaps you could take it on notice and see what information is able to be provided without compromising the integrity of the investigation. That's all that it's about.
Senator
Listening to
Rice,
what I'm hearing as my analysis of the evidence. And we can come back to you on this. It won't be today, obviously, but if we could take advice, and you're asking very genuine questions.
Yes,
absolutely. We're all concerned, so perhaps we could take some advice as to what we can provide and get back to Senator Rice. If you're happy with that, Deputy Chair.
Yes, and I think if you can't provide it, I think you just need to outline the reasons why it's not in the public interest.
Yes. If you're happy with that, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
In the Sydney Morning Herald, the biggest New South Wales franchisee now is Premier. I haven't got his information here. Dejan, I think it was named as underpaying workers. Are you investigating that particular franchisee?
I don't have that information to hand, Senator.
Will you take
Can you take it
I'm
on
happy
notice?
to take it on notice. Sorry, I was waiting for the...
Have you met with the Domino's head office since the story broke last night?
Yes, we've had ongoing conversations with them.
Right. And when a worker comes to you, in the past couple of years when the compliance deed was in operation, did you refer them to Domino's?
Where it was appropriate to do so.
What does that mean?
So where we identify a general underpayment, the intention was that Domino's would work with the franchise to deal with that and report back to us in due course on the findings of that referral. Where there's serious non-compliance, we don't refer it to Domino's or any other employer.
So how many, of those employees, how many would have come to you?
Again, Senator, I don't have those numbers to hand, but I'm happy to take them on notice.
Because it's a concern if you are basically just referring them to Domino's, if, the risk, a risk to a worker who's going to be feeling afraid
Well, that would be a feature
potentially
of a
intimidated.
That would be a feature of a decision not to refer something. So,
as we know from the 7-Eleven inquiries, the amount of intimidation that was going on of workers that were blowing the whistle.
Yeah.
So I'm concerned if your main modus operandi was to refer them back to Domino's.
What we're trying to do is engender a culture of compliance across a network of operations, in this case Domino's. And our view is that large corporations like this shouldn't have the benefit of a taxpayer's regulator to clean up these issues. We think that's an obligation that the operation and the franchise should have. So we're giving them first chance at dealing with these issues. The individual claimant always has the ability to come to us with a concern about how that's been dealt with, or raise a concern that they don't want us to refer this issue to Domino's.
Okay, so you don't know how many of those you wouldn't have referred to Domino's, though?
It's not a huge number that were referred to Domino's. I just don't have the exact number to hand, Senator.
Do you think Domino's should open up a compensation scheme to, given they revealed that there's been something like $4.5 million that's been underpaid over the years? And according to the media, some workers haven't received the money despite it coming to Domino's attention as long as 2 years ago.
Senator, we're still undergoing this inquiry, if you like. 7-Eleven set a new benchmark when it's come to franchises stepping up and taking responsibility for wages that have been underpaid by its franchisees. So it is a company that, as a result of the findings of our inquiry, and note that we carried out an extensive inquiry and reported on that inquiry, which informed our compliance partnership with them, they've stepped up and done that. First and foremost, it is the employee's responsibility, and the Minister's bill that was introduced into the House yesterday makes it clear that it is still the franchisee or the employee's responsibility to pay workers. But in the event that they don't pay, we have consistently said that organisations like well-known brands and franchisors among them, and other companies such as Baiada, established companies like Coles and Woolworths and the like, should step up. They've got a moral and ethical responsibility to make good underpayments of either their labour supply contractors or franchisees and the like. And so we're still unpicking what's gone on here. We don't know the full extent of it yet. And once we have finished our investigations, we will be in a position to form a view about what should be done. But certainly the workers are entitled to be paid and receive those minimum rates that they're entitled to. And if the franchisees do not pay or are unable to pay, then it does beg the question about what the role of the franchisor profiting from the brand has had to play.
Indeed, and it really looks like we've got a situation, again, where there is rampant wage fraud, rampant underpayment of wages, and yet we as a government are unable to do anything about it.
Well, and Senator, I would say there's nothing to stop Domino's doing that today. 7-Eleven set up their wage repayment scheme.
One more question before we break for lunch about one of your compliance deed signed between Fair Work and Domino's. And I understand that in the most recent one, you agreed to let Domino's see draft press releases 24 hours in advance of releasing them. Is that the case? And if so, isn't that seems to me to really be an indicative of what's not the sort of relationship that there needs to be between the Fair Work Ombudsman and Domino's?
Senator, we often, as a courtesy, give companies who are about to say things about in the media notice that we're going to do that. That's often fair. And as part of these compliance partnerships, we offer to show them our press release. We don't negotiate our press releases with them, and nor do we shy away from shining a light on exploitative conduct when it occurs. And in fact, I sometimes receive criticism for the strength of our media releases, and occasionally my chief counsel tells me I might be getting into trouble with the courts. So I think we are absolutely pushing out the boundaries around our media and how we talk about the conduct of companies in the press. But natural justice and what we hope are good relationships with responsible brands also supports the idea that you might.
But are they a responsible brand?
Well,
from what we're
investigating.
to me, it doesn't look like they're a responsible brand.
I would say that compliance partnership has expired, Senator, and right now I don't know that I'd be negotiating a new one with them. Certainly, we've got some work to do with these investigations before we decide what our posture is towards this company.
Okay.